Welcome to today's deep dive. We're really thrilled you're here with us today because honestly, we are taking apart a truly massive paradigm-shifting document.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really is.
Yeah.
We are looking at Rich Schefren's AI Business Manifesto, and the whole mission of this deep dive, the reason we are dedicating our time to this specific source today, is to rescue you from what the text calls the hamster wheel of false efficiency.
Right, which is such a great phrase.
Yeah, because right now, you might feel like you're using AI incredibly effectively, like you're getting your emails written faster, you're summarizing documents in seconds, you're checking tasks off your list at absolute record speed.
Oh, feels great.
It does. But this deep dive is going to reveal why that feeling of speed is actually the most dangerous place you can possibly be, and how you can shift your focus to truly scale your potential and your actual judgment.
Yeah, and to understand why that feeling of speed is so dangerous, the manifesto uses this brilliant concept from the poker world.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. So, if you play poker, you know that the absolute worst hand you can be dealt almost never breaks you. Like you look down, you see absolute garbage, you immediately fold, and you lose practically nothing.
Because there's no temptation.
Exactly. The garbage hands are safe because they don't tempt you at all. The most dangerous hand in poker isn't the worst hand. It's actually the second best hand.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, it's the second best hand because it is just strong enough to make you trust it. It looks like a winner. So, it's strong enough to make you go all in, bet everything you have, and then inevitably lose to the one hand you never saw coming.
Wow.
And here is the core argument of the manifesto. Using AI simply to speed up your current workflow, just doing your existing tasks a little bit faster. That is the second best hand.
Because it feels like winning.
Right. It feels exactly like winning right up until you realize you haven't actually changed your business at all. You're just running faster on the exact same hamster wheel.
So if speeding up our tasks is just the second best hand, our mission today is to figure out what the winning hand actually looks like.
Exactly.
And according to the source material, getting that winning hand starts with fundamentally changing the way we talk to the machine. Like the manifesto points out that almost everyone is caught in what it calls the instruction trap.
We really are. I mean, just think about how you, or really anyone you know, uses AI right now. Most people use a technique called method prompting.
Right.
You sit down and you type out, write a 150-word follow-up email. Use 3 bullet points, make it sound professional but friendly. You are dictating the exact route, the exact parameters, and the exact method that the AI must take to complete the job.
You're just filling the prompt with constraints.
Yeah, exactly.
And you think you're being precise and helpful. But the manifesto argues that by doing this, you are actually putting the AI in a cage. You are artificially limiting this massive, incredible machine intelligence strictly to the boundaries of what you already know how to do.
You're basically treating it like a very fast intern.
Exactly. But the top 1% of users, the people who are seeing truly exponential growth in their businesses, they completely abandon that approach. They use what is called outcome prompting.
Right, which is completely different.
Yeah, instead of dictating the method, they just lock in the destination.
An outcome prompt looks so different. Instead of asking for 150 words and, 3 bullet points, you say, write a follow-up email that makes this specific client feel deeply heard about the hesitation they didn't explicitly mention on Tuesday's call.
Wow.
And you tell it, do this so that they feel comfortable enough to book a meeting for Thursday.
The shift in mindset there is just enormous.
Yeah.
You are no longer telling the AI how to do its job. You are simply telling it what must become true in the real world for this specific task to be considered a success.
Exactly. You leave the format, the length, the specific psychological levers entirely open for the AI to figure out on its own.
It's incredibly liberating because suddenly, you transition from being limited by your own technical skills to being limited only by your imagination. And I do have to push back a little here because I'm sure anyone listening is thinking the same exact thing.
Go for it.
Isn't giving the AI the destination without the route basically just letting a toddler drive a Ferrari?
I mean, it's a great analogy. And honestly, it's a very valid fear. We've all seen AI hallucinate or just completely miss the mark.
Right. If we aren't holding its hand through the exact steps, how can we possibly trust the AI not to just completely go off the rails and send something absolutely disastrous to a client?
Well, the resolution to that fear lies in the boundaries you set. You don't just give the AI the desired outcome and walk away blindly. That would be insane.
Good. I'm glad we're not suggesting that.
No, the manifesto explains that you have to lock down 2 specific pillars. You need the context and the outcome. The context is your hard evidence. It's, the customer's purchase history, the transcript of past emails, the firm, non-negotiable rules of your brand voice that it literally cannot break.
Okay.
And then the outcome is that exact destination we just talked about. You are essentially building a fenced-in field.
Sure, a fence keeps the car in the field, but a toddler driving a Ferrari can still crash into a tree inside that field. How do we define that context tightly enough that we don't spend all our time just fixing the AI's mistakes?
You define the context by connecting the AI directly to the reality of the business, rather than just feeding it isolated prompts. Within that fenced-in field where the facts are undeniable and the goal is totally clear, the method stays open.
I see.
The AI searches that define space for a better, more efficient route than you could have ever designed yourself. It might realize that, hey, a simple 2-sentence question is actually more effective than a 150-word email with bullet points.
Wow.
But to do that safely, to keep it from hitting the tree, the AI needs to actually see the entire field. It needs real context, not just what you bother to copy and paste into a chat window.
And that brings us to, honestly, one of the most critical concepts in the text, which is the harness. Because right now, for most of you listening, you are the harness.
You really are.
You are the one manually downloading a transcript from Zoom, copying it, pasting it into ChatGPT, taking that output, pasting it into a Google Doc, reviewing it, and then moving it over to your email draft or updating your CRM.
Yeah, you are the literal connective tissue holding all these different software calls together.
Which inherently means you are the bottleneck.
Exactly. Yeah. If you are doing the copying and pasting, the business can only move as fast as your hands can move.
Right.
A true AI harness, as described in the Manifesto, operates entirely inside the web of your business. It's an operating system, not an isolated chat window. And the author breaks this down into 5 distinct layers to explain how it actually functions in reality.
Let's walk through those layers, because this is where the theory really hits the pavement.
So the first layer is memory. And this isn't just a folder of files. This is a dynamic database of what the business actually knows. Customer preferences, past successful campaigns, internal rules.
Okay, that makes sense.
The second layer is hooks. Hooks are fascinating because they are basically the AI's nervous system. A hook allows the AI to automatically notice when something happens in the real world.
Like what?
For example, it detects the exact second a sales call ends, or, a customer submits a support ticket without you having to tell it.
So it's actively listening rather than just waiting to be spoken to.
Precisely. The third layer is tools. This gives the AI reach. If it notices a support ticket through a hook, tools give it the actual permission to reach into your email account, access your calendar, or query your inventory system to find the answer.
Wow. Okay, so it can actually take action.
Exactly. Then the fourth layer is skills. These are your permanent standards, the standard operating procedures that dictate the quality of how work is actually done.
And then you have the fifth layer, which kind of brings it all together, right? Outcome engines.
Yes, outcome engines.
These are systems where multiple AI agents work together to own a complete result. It's not just one AI writing a draft. It's an entire virtual department.
Right, where one AI writes a draft, a second AI critiques it against the brand guidelines stored in memory, and a third AI finalizes and actually sends it, all operating completely autonomously.
Exactly. When you have all 5 layers working together, the AI is standing inside the business, reacting to things in real time. You are literally no longer the bottleneck.
It's a game changer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Once you actually have this connected harness, once you've built this infrastructure, what do you actually build with it?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Because the Manifesto argues that you have to stop acting like an assembler and start acting like an architect.
Yeah.
And there is this brilliant historical analogy in the text that explains exactly what this means.
Oh, the productivity J-curve.
Yes. Think back to when factories first got access to electricity in the late 1800s. Before electricity, factories were built around one massive central steam engine.
Right.
Because of how steam power worked, everything had to be connected to this central engine by physical belts and shafts. So factory floors were incredibly crowded, they were linear, and they were super dangerous.
The floor plan was dictated entirely by the limitation of the power source.
That's right. So electricity comes along, and factory owners are thrilled. But what do? They take these small electric motors and they bolt them right onto the exact same machines in the exact same inefficient floor plan.
They didn't redesign anything.
No. So they didn't see massive productivity gains right away. They just made the old terrible route a tiny bit faster.
They replaced the power source, but they held on to the old limitations. The real exponential gains only arrived decades later when a new generation of owners literally tore up the floor plan entirely.
They redesigned the entire factory around what electricity made possible. The assembly line, logical workflows, spreading machines out safely.
And the manifesto argues that AI is in that exact phase right now. The first generation of AI users are doing what the early factory owners did. They're acting like assemblers.
Yes.
An assembler looks at AI and asks, can this machine do what I'm already doing, just faster? They want to turn a straight line of manual tasks into an automated straight line.
But the architect asks a completely different question. The architect asks, what entirely new system is possible now that this old bottleneck is completely gone? They replace lines with loops.
To really ground this, let's look at the live Q&A call example from the source material because honestly, it illustrates the difference perfectly.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you host a live 1-hour Q&A call with your customers every single week. An assembler takes that transcript, runs it through an AI, and says, turn this transcript into 5 social media posts, a quick summary for the team, and a follow-up email.
Boom. Faster output. But nothing fundamentally changed about the business. It's just a faster version of the old floor plan.
Exactly. But the architect looks at that exact same weekly Q&A call and turns it into a learning loop. They realize that a call isn't just a piece of content to be repurposed. It is a live, high-fidelity sensor for the entire business.
Oh, that's smart.
So their AI system, using those hooks and tools we talked about earlier, listens to the call in real time. Let's say at minute 15, the AI detects a moment of genuine customer confusion about how a specific software feature works.
Because it's an outcome engine, it doesn't just summarize that confusion later. Before the call even ends, the AI automatically routes that insight to update the FAQ section on the sales page.
Yeah.
It triggers a support ticket for the development team to fix the onboarding sequence and flags a new feature request for the product roadmap.
The call happened once, but the business got smarter everywhere, instantly. That is a loop, not a line.
It's incredible. But it also brings up a massive caution flag in the text. There's a story in the manifesto about Klarna, the financial tech company.
Oh, right. The support rep story.
Yeah. Klarna famously used an AI assistant to do the work of 700 full-time customer support reps. They cut their average resolution time from something like 11 minutes down to under 2 minutes.
Which is huge.
On paper, it's a massive efficiency win. It's the ultimate assembler dream. But shortly after, they started seeing their customer trust and quality metrics fall. It feels like they automated the execution perfectly, but they entirely forgot to capture the soul of the business, the actual judgment of their best people.
That observation leads us directly into what the manifesto calls the second wave.
Okay, what's that?
We are entering an era where execution, the actual doing of the tasks, writing the code, drafting the emails, resolving the tickets, is becoming a cheap, universally abundant commodity.
Everybody's going to have it.
Exactly. Every company on earth is going to have AI that can execute flawlessly. So execution is no longer a competitive advantage. What the AI does not automatically have is your judgment.
That's fascinating.
Your judgment is the only asset that cannot be rented by your competitors.
And there's an amazing sense of irony here from the author Rich Schefren. Back in 2006, he wrote this massively influential piece called the Internet Business Manifesto.
Yeah, totally legendary document.
It became a cornerstone for a whole generation of entrepreneurs. And the core advice of that 2006 document was, remove yourself from the business in order to scale it. Build rigorous standard operating procedures so that anyone, anywhere can do the work.
Right.
And now, 2 decades later, he's saying AI has completely reversed that rule.
Because the landscape has completely inverted. In 2006, human competence was the bottleneck, so you had to systemize it. Today, highly competent AI execution is abundant.
Wow.
The new rule isn't remove yourself. The new rule is multiply yourself. You want to scale your specific, irreplaceable judgment across the entire company.
But how do you actually do that? Like, the manifesto introduces this concept of tacit knowledge, which is the idea that we all know far more than we can actually tell.
Yes.
You can't just sit down on a Tuesday afternoon and write a comprehensive rule book for your gut instincts. Think about a master negotiator. If you ask them why they suddenly paused for 3 seconds before speaking or why they lowered their voice at a specific moment, They probably can't articulate the exact rule.
No, they just felt the tension in the room shift.
Exactly.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see this dynamic everywhere. The manifesto specifically looks at 5 different high-stakes worlds: venture capital, surgery, the corner office for CEOs, insurance actuaries, and music producers like Rick Rubin.
Oh, I love the Rick Rubin example.
Right. In all of these fields, the market pays massive premiums, but what are they actually paying for? Not for the basic execution of tasks.
Right. I mean, anyone can learn how to read a spreadsheet or operate a soundboard.
Exactly. A venture capitalist is betting millions of dollars on a founder's judgment to pivot when the original idea is clearly wrong. Patients have wildly different survival rates based on the specific, in-the-moment judgment of the surgeon holding the scalpel, even when both surgeons are following the exact same preoperative checklist.
That is wild.
And in music, people are paying for the taste, the unique point of view, the specific ear of Rick Rubin. They are paying for the judgment of one specific person.
So if you can't just type out your gut instinct in a Word document, how do you actually get that tacit knowledge into the AI?
Well, the manifesto's answer is something called your imprint. The AI acts as an apprentice, but it doesn't need you to write a manual. It needs to watch you work. It shatters your real-world verdicts.
So it's learning by observing.
And the mechanism for how this works is fascinating. The AI looks at the draft it generated for you, and then it looks at the final version you actually sent or approved. It analyzes the delta, the gap, between its baseline execution and your final judgment.
Get it?
When you reject a marketing headline because it sounds too clever and not clear enough, or you approve a customer refund even though it's technically 2 days past the policy window because the fit wasn't right, the AI captures the situation, the decision, and most importantly, the reason.
It's capturing the why, not just the what. And over time, those specific, isolated decisions form a complex web of your judgment.
Exactly.
I want you to really think about this for a second. How many times a day do you fix a tiny mistake that an employee or an AI makes, and that correction just vanishes into the ether?
Oh, all the time.
You tweak the tone of an email to make it a little warmer, you hit send, and that knowledge is gone forever. You're constantly paying what the author calls the final 20% tax over and over and over again. Building your imprint captures that final 20%, so the AI never makes that same mistake twice.
And this brings us to the most vulnerable and, without a doubt, the most important part of this entire document, the third wave.
Okay, lay it on us.
So, let's say you've built the harness. You've successfully scaled your judgment through an imprint. Execution is entirely handled.
Sounds like paradise.
Right, but what if your judgment is heavily influenced by your own worst habits? What about your flaws, your blind spots, your anxieties?
Oh, yeah. That is the terrifying flip side of this whole concept. What if you're just perfectly scaling the absolute wrong version of yourself?
Exactly. The manifesto addresses this by outlining the 5 levels of AI knowing you. Most of us, even advanced users, are stuck at level 1 or 2.
Which are what?
Level 1 is simply the AI knowing what you produced. It has access to your files, your past emails, your calendar. Level 2 is knowing what you decided. It can analyze the prices you set, the marketing campaigns you ran, the hires you made.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then you hit what the author calls the wall. To cross that wall, the AI has to understand the psychology behind the data. It has to move from the business to the person. Level 3 is understanding how you decide. Level 4 is understanding who is deciding, your cognitive wiring, your unique strengths, your hidden blind spots. And level 5, the ultimate goal, is the AI knowing who you are becoming, the future you have actively chosen to build for yourself.
I have to pause here because I know exactly what you're thinking at home right now. Giving an AI system access to your deep psychology, letting it psychoanalyze your fears and your habits, it sounds incredibly dystopian.
It really does.
It sounds like a sci-fi movie where the machine takes over your life. But Schefren shares a highly personal story in the text to explain why crossing this wall is so crucial, and it completely changed my perspective on this.
It's a great story.
He admits openly that he has raging ADHD, he's a chronic perfectionist, and he's a massive information junkie. When he first started using advanced AI without crossing that wall, without letting it understand his psychology, the AI didn't fix his bad patterns, it actually amplified them.
What's fascinating here is how that amplification played out. Because the AI was so fast and so capable, it just gave him more shiny objects to chase. Right?
It gave him deeper rabbit holes to dive down, and it provided perfectly valid, highly intelligent excuses to delay launching his actual projects.
So how did he break that cycle? He did something radical. He didn't just feed the AI his business metrics or his email history. He fed 30 years of his personal private journals into the system.
That is just nuts. 30 years.
30 years of documented decisions, personal failures, private anxieties, and reflections. And the AI handed him back a profound realization that he hadn't seen himself.
Wow.
It told him, based on 3 decades of his own behavioral patterns, that his core issue wasn't a fear of failing. It was a fear of irrelevance.
Right. The AI identified that he was terrified his best work was already behind him. Because of that fear, he would subconsciously self-sabotage right near the finish line of any new project. Because as long as he was working on it, it had potential.
But actually finishing it and putting it into the world felt like burying it.
That is heavy. But recognizing that pattern completely changed how he used the system. Now, he has built an intercept system for his own self-sabotage.
It was brilliant.
You know exactly how it is. You get a brilliant, better idea right when a major project is 90% done. It's the classic delay tactic, disguised as having incredibly high standards.
We all do it.
Now, when that happens to him, his AI system takes that brand new idea, investigates it in a parallel lane, does all the preliminary research, and allows him to stay completely focused on finishing the current project without feeling like he's losing the new spark.
It intercepts the destructive pattern before it derails the work. And it does this through a living dynamic model called digital DNA, which is maintained by a system he calls Atlas.
Okay, what is Atlas?
Atlas is a crucial distinction here because a static personality profile just freezes you in time. Like if you took a Myers-Briggs test or an Enneagram test 5 years ago, building an AI around that profile might protect you from problems you've already solved.
Oh, that makes sense.
Atlas constantly updates as you evolve, strictly separating who you are right now from who you are intentionally becoming.
I do have to ask, though, and this is something the Manifesto grapples with. If AI is constantly smoothing out all of our human flaws, if it's constantly intervening to make us perfectly productive, perfectly rational, and perfectly focused, aren't we losing the very friction that makes us human?
That's the big fear, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes a random distraction, a weird tangent you go down on a Tuesday afternoon is actually a stroke of genius. If we optimize every single moment, do we lose the magic?
Well, that's the beauty of how this specific architecture is designed. The AI doesn't kill the distraction. It doesn't act like a strict boss telling you, no, get back to work.
Right.
As we saw with the parallel lane, it explores the distraction for you. It honors your natural human curiosity without letting it derail your execution.
Oh, I love that.
It gives you the concrete evidence you need to decide if that weird tangent is actually a stroke of genius worth pursuing, or if it's just another excuse to avoid doing the hard work. The AI isn't deciding your future for you. It is helping you build the future you consciously choose, rather than the default future your unexamined history would naturally produce.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a massive amount of ground today on this deep dive.
We really have.
We started by figuring out how to escape the instruction trap by focusing on the outcome instead of micromanaging the method. We talked about building a fully connected harness so the AI isn't just a chat window, it's a living operating system reacting to your business in real time.
Yeah.
We shifted our mindset from being an assembler, just trying to make old tasks faster, to being an architect designing entirely new learning loops.
Which is huge.
We explored the mechanics of capturing your irreplaceable tacit judgment through an imprint. And finally, how to cross the wall so your AI actually aligns with the future you want to build, rather than just efficiently amplifying your deepest flaws.
Ultimately, this manifesto represents a complete shift in human leverage. Execution is no longer your bottleneck. Capable, competent execution is abundant, and it is going to be incredibly cheap.
So cheap.
Your only true competitive advantage is your judgment and the specific conscious direction you point that judgment toward. And that brings us to a final thought for you to chew on today, a challenge inspired directly by the source text.
Let's hear it.
Now that execution is abundant, now that the friction of not having enough time, not having a big enough team, or not having the energy to execute is largely removed, look back at your own life. What is the biggest dream, the most ambitious project that you quietly surrendered because you thought you just didn't have the capacity to pull it off?
Wow.
Now that the friction is gone, what abandoned dream do you need to put back on the table?